dwell on our mind. I think that's sort of one of the things that's bringing this mental health crisis up at the moment.
Hmm.
Um, More time to think about things, and we have more access to like what's happening in the world. Like before the internet, you'd have to hear about it on a news article or hear through word of mouth what was going on in the world.
Hmm.
Now it's like you're constantly being flashed what's happening. You a lot of people are in a state of like fight or flight because they're just seeing all these new media articles coming out all the time.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the main things that's causing, the mental health crisis that we're seeing at the moment.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I agree with that 100% because it's I read a book. It's called Disturbed Children's Their Family, a psychological evaluation and treatment. And one of the things it kind of touched on was that we almost have this form of hypochondria where we could also reflect and kind of mirror other people's mental health issues, mental health disorders, or even just the quality of mental health. And with the current age that we're in with technology, and it's like we've become complacent for so long, we've become lazy for so long, like us, like the middle class, having all the technology that we have was way more than what the upper class did have 100 years ago, but we've now reached just a state of complacency. And when we give in, I don't know, it's kind of a weird thing to explain, but it's like when you reach a state of complacency and stagnation, it's almost like corruption brews from it. You're not, things start to decay, things start to rot, and then it's like our understanding of it kind of rots as well. And that's why you come across this right now, where we aren't faced with as much confrontation, and we're not having to go through as much resilience that we'd have to do way back when, that we're having a hard time coping with all this information that's coming in. And then because also we've been so comfortable for so long, this sudden shock of the pandemic and how it just became the new norm just exacerbated it horribly.
Yeah, man, 100% for sure.
Yeah.
That's spot on, man. Spot on.
Yeah, that's why I think you would like the book. There's this other book that I read called The Mystic Path to Cosmic Power by Vernon Howard, and it's all about mysticism, but it's kind of like also using the history of mysticism to apply it. But one of the things that he would teach in it is that every person, they have a true and a false self. Your true self is everything good and pure about you, and your false self is this false representation of you that is all the negative aspects: anxiety, anger, depression, all that stuff. Now, what we as humans we have an issue with is that we assume the false self as our true identity when it's not. So, like for example, if you're saying that like I'm feeling anxious, that's actually your false self. So it's feeling anxious. And one of the things they taught about is it's your false self is almost like a feral creature in a sense that in order for you to be able to reconcile these issues, to confront the depression, things like that, you kind of have to take it head on. And that's why, like in these quiet times where, like with the pandemic, for example, where we have this just long period of waiting where there's no smoke and mirrors, and we're kind of stuck facing these issues that we're going through head on. And the way that he described it is that it's like a feral creature that's cornered. Your false self is still trying to convince you that it's real. So it's lashing out and doing everything possible to convince you that it's real. And I feel like that kind of is another way of taking a look at like this big mental health crisis. We're not able to pull away the smoke and mirrors, and we're just letting this feral animal attack us over and over again.
Yeah, 100%, man. Yeah, like that's spot on. I think like it's a wide variety of things that impact us now in society that our caveman brain is not equipped to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like the constant stimulation. Um, there's so many factors now that go into it. Um, But one of the ways, man, I like to, conquer those demons and find my center is just through meditation.
Mm-hmm.
I found for me that's like being able to center myself and find my true north
Mm-hmm.
and just get some meditation in. Um, I like to I like to go like deep, man, deep into my past, into my childhood, find my answers. And that's where like a lot of times it's like how much of mental health is childhood conditioning
Mm-hmm.
and how much of it is society. Like that's one question that I always ask myself. How your childhood impacts you and the way that you think, but
Mm-hmm.
also like society as a whole, how it impacts us, man, and how what they say on the media is shaping our belief.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man, I like you. We're on the same wave. I like the way this conversation is going. That's exactly spot on with like the whole true and false self. Because when you're meditating, there's no smoke and mirrors. So you have to face the problem head on. You have to be able to solve it. And it's guaranteed the first answer you find isn't always the correct answer. So you have to go digging. You have to kind of think it through. You have to figure it out, play chess with yourself, and that's how you kind of overcome those obstacles. And that's why like it's I always get 50-50 reactions to people from saying it, but for like my mindset, I say that like depression is real only so long as I allow it to be. So
Yeah,
depression being attached to my false self, it's only going to exist within me so long as I allow it.
100%, man, 100%. And you make that choice every day.
Mm-hmm.
How you're going to decide to live in the world, how you're going to take on the day, whether or not you're going to let you know past beliefs impact the way that you shape your reality.
Mm-hmm.
um, yeah, it's one of those things, man.